Greetings everyone, I'm Sophis. Today I've got two builds for you, one for an Ice Giant King and another for a Rock Giant King. This brings us to one build per giant type since the DLC came out. I've taken a little longer with this one due to a little bit of trial and error with the builds until they got to their current state. One is a summoned focused build, taking ample advantage of the Frost Giant King's boon to mana generation, as well as the runes of power that it provides. The other is a monster faction build, meant to feel like a classic dungeon-style faction, great for playing the Raider strategy. Now let's get into the builds. First, the Eldritch Conjurers, a race of magically gifted casters meddling with dark magic under the guidance of a giant that also tampered with cosmic forces. The faction strategy is simple. In combat, you summon. Out of combat, you also summon. Your forces should have some form units backing them, and they aren't meant to be in the thick of combat. They should take the least damage, and the rest is all summons. You excel at summoning, and you have the power to steal summons from others, as well as the power to destroy them if necessary. Your tomes will be as follows: Tome of the Tentacle, then Rock. At Tier 2, Summoning and Shades. At Tier 3, Cold Dark and Amplification. At Tier 4, Severing and Calamity. Then at 5, you cap it with Tome of the Archmage. Your race will have the Arcane Focus and Unicorn Mounts form traits. Pick a Mystic Culture with the Summoning subculture. The Society traits are Gifted Casters and Powerful Evokers. The progression of your power level is fairly linear. As soon as the first turns, you'll have access to Conjure Tentacle, a fighter unit that can apply Constricted, holding down your enemies. This will play nicely with the Rune of Creation from the Frost Giant, which conjures a pillar of ice that applies frozen status in a 2-hex radius. With the right placement and strategy, you can hold down your enemies quite well. The reason you pick Tome of Rock is its Materium affinity and boost to production to assist the Mystic Culture in growing their cities. The enchantment in this tome will boost the arcane guards that you'll field early on. And the Earthkin transformation makes your form units a little more durable. Also, the Stone Spirit is a great frontline to replace your arcane guards as soon as possible. Your next tool for this build comes with Summoning, as Arcane Bond lets you try and capture magic origin units from your enemies and the wilderness. Arcane Restoration and Arcane Supercharge are also natural complements to your summon strategy. The point of Shades at this tier is to boost once more the natural defenses of your form units to make them tougher to kill as they support from the back line. Rending Shadows and Shadow Blades give some of your frontline the means to bypass enemy defenses and deal more damage. With Cold Dark, you extend the freezing capabilities you've had thanks to the Giant Rune by having access to the Snow Spirit summon. And Flash Freeze will make all your debuffs easier to land as they reduce enemy status resistance. The Frostling transformation is the third passive buff to your ratio units, and Marching Winter helps you terraform your cities into snow tiles to get the mana boost from your Giant King faster. Amplification caps Tier 3, with the important thing here being the resonance fields to give you more casting points both in and out of combat, as well as Astral Blood and Frenzying Focus to boost the form units you'll deploy the most. At Tier 4, you'll pick Severing first, due to affinity restrictions. From here we want most everything. The ability to bring your own Spelljammers into the field to hamper enemy casters, the means to cause Disrupted with your frontline units, as well as tools to boost your own status resistance, and the means to deal with hostile magic origin units that you cannot dominate. As good as Severing is, giving you the counterplay to your own strategy, Calamity helps address a potential issue you'll run into your game. As you dominate magic origin units from other sources, you might run into a few that deal burning damage, such as the Magma Spirits. As they are decent battle mages, it is a shame that their attacks disrupt the strategy of freezing the enemy with the Giant Rune, as well as your Snow Spirits. Accursed Projectiles fixes that, alongside all the other enchantments and spells in this tome that grant the Ghostfire debuff, ensuring maximum compatibility of your native units with the ones you'll acquire from elsewhere. Tome of the Archmage is then our endpoint for a simple reason. Cosmic Overdrive boosts every single magic origin unit and combat summon with a considerable plus 30% damage buff. The rest in this tome is good, but this enchantment is a must-have for fielding the strongest forces for this faction. Campaign-wise, you want your cities to output research, mana, and casting points primarily. The Astral Manalith, Summoning Well, and Resonance Fields are the most important special provinces to that end. Try and position them for maximum synergy. The Frostspire can be set anywhere, as you'll ideally have everything terraformed and snowy. Unsurprisingly, the one form unit you should concern yourself with is the Summoner. They are there to support and boost your summons, and provide you extra casting points thanks to the Society trait. Other than it, the Soother is worth considering for the healing capabilities, as you'll have other priority combat spells, and using a turn to heal your summons can be cumbersome. Your Giant King is a Ritualist, and you should strive to have as many heroes with the same class. The reason is simple, in that the Ritualist class is made for support, being able to heal, revive, boost, and bring summons of its own. But any class will work in practice. The creation rune for summoning Frost Pillars can be equipped by anyone, and a Wand of Healing would be just another slot. That said, you get a lot more inbuilt with a Ritualist. Far as your magic origin units go, you'll innately have 5, 3 of them being the bread and butter of your army composition. The Stone Spirit is your line holder, with the possibility of either complementing them with Snow Spirits later on, or outright replacing them in some setups. The Tentacle Combat Summon will remain relevant throughout the entire playthrough, only getting more enchantments on it as time goes on. The Astral Serpent and Calamity Dragon are accessible to you through the tomes you get, but the Serpent doesn't hold any special role, and the Calamity Dragon is a mythic unit likely to be more sparsely used, especially as it takes quite a few turns to summon one. The rest depends on the availability within the map you are playing. In my playthrough, I managed to secure a few fire elementals as well as Lithuanian units here and there, so your mileage will vary. And so that is the Eldritch Conjurers. The Giant King complements the mystic culture quite well, and the Summoner playstyle feels nice and fluid. Now to the Goblin Raiders. As the name suggests, a faction of goblins from the depths of the earth led by a savage Giant King, bringing monsters and vile technology to raid the surface. The faction strategy is to grow your presence underground, expanding your cities and making them into veritable soldier factories, pumping out all manners of units to cause terror on the surface. You'll have quite good ranged units, front lines with a lot of HP, and some monsters to support and be the big units in your armies. The tomes will be as follows: Tome of Roots, then Evolution. At Tier 2, Dungeon Depths and Mayhem. At Tier 3, Cycles, Transmutation, and Dragons. At Tier 4, Nature's Wrath, with Tome of the Goddess of Nature at 5. Your race will have the strong, keen-sighted, and underground adaptation traits. Reaver Culture with the Subterranean Society and Merciless Slaver Society traits. Early on, Roots gives you the Blight Blades and Poison Arrows enchantment to buff your initial units and give you some healing. Evolution continues that buffing by giving you another heal spell, and more importantly, Draconic Vitality. This minor transformation will only get better over time, giving your heroes and farm units alike extra health. The Wyvern Summon will be handy as a reinforcement in a pinch, and if you manage to keep them around long enough to evolve, their grown forms will make for decent early monsters to have in your armies. Dungeon Depths is here for boosting your cities with its considerable amount of special province improvements, adding yet more production, stability, and gold to your income, as well as some binding essence for your forging needs. Combined with the Giant King ruler, this means you'll have a passive income of forging materials. As I've mentioned in the Fire Giant King build, the clay constructs you get from this tome are quite good. They won't benefit from the same transformations as your goblins, but their innate undying trait makes them durable, at the very least. Mayhem is where your ranged units and support start to pull ahead, with Mark of Misfortune helping debuff the enemy so they fumble more frequently. Insight Revolution is there to help your raider playstyle, letting you create infestations to distract your enemy or for you to farm for experience. Cycles continues the improvement of your ranged and support units through the Projectiles of Decay enchantment. Decaying prevents healing, weakening your enemy yet again. The best part of this tome is the first big monster it brings to the table, the Druid of the Cycle. It is a very good support unit, giving you the means to revive your units without needing a hero, or to sacrifice them to damage the foe. Transmutation is meant to be more of a campaign support tome. Transmutation Circle should help you get any magic materials you want to complement your collection so you can forge the best items for your heroes, and Steel Skin is a good defensive passive as a minor transformation. Then Tome of Dragons brings both the monsters and the major transformation for your form units. Draconian Transformation is an important step in this build to ultimately buff all your form units. Natural Regeneration helps them recover quickly in and out of combat, and Draconic Rage boosts their damage at lower health. The young dragon units you'll have access to at this point replace the wyverns you are likely to be running with, still playing into the evolution strategy, but ultimately having more powerful evolved forms. Nature's Wrath is your single tier 4, giving you one spell that will let you expand your repertoire of monsters. Devolve lets you turn enemies into a tier 1 animal, which is a far much easier target to capture or route. Awaken Instincts gives you an AoE heal and action boost at the cost of driving your units berserk. And although an expensive alternative, Destructive Regrowth lets you grow forests in the underground, should you need them for stability buffs in the Empyrean tree. The spell has more benefits if you are using it to attack an underground city, giving you a better result than Insight Revolution. Then Goddess of Nature brings the whole build together with the Force of Nature enchantment. Given it affects dragon units, and all your form units and mainline monsters are dragons, all of them will benefit from a bonus to critical hit and extra blight damage. Even your main healer, the Druid of the Cycle, will benefit from it, being a plant unit. Campaign-wise, even if you are a nature affinity build, the biggest growth spike you'll have in your cities will be from raising enemy settlements, giving part of its population to your empire. You'll want to seize as much of the underground as you can and fortify it into your own personal fortress. Being an evil raiding build, anything else you'll find underground is just more fuel for the fire, and you'll have the capacity to keep pumping out troops to take the territory. Your Giant King, being a Rock Giant King, is better suited to be a defender. There's nothing particularly complicated about it, just focus on the right hand side of the class branch, then the left hand side. You'll have a giant that always ends the turn in defense mode and has plenty of retaliations. Just don't forget to invest into the hurl ability for a powerful single target stun, as well as the forge bonuses for boosting all your other units. The real standout here with the heroes with this build are the Rangers. With access to this much Chaos Affinity, with the materials you can pick and choose from thanks to Transmutation, as well as the Force of Nature enchantment, I have managed to get snipers with 100% critical hit chance, as well as enhanced critical hit damage, combined with True Shot, a Mage Lock, and the sniper-focused parts of the Ranger tree. You have a very strong, mostly stationary unit that can very quickly dispatch key targets. This works very well with the rest of your roster, who are better suited at holding the line and whittling down the enemy. If you can take out the key players on the enemy side, the army can clean up after you. The Druid of the Cycle has unparalleled utility with its ability to revive your troops, and the Mage Lock unit will be your main ranged units to field, equipped with all the enchantments to debuff the enemy and packing a fraction of the punch your ranger heroes can get. All your units will crit more often, even if you can't quite get them to 100% like the heroes, and the monsters you'll naturally have access to help bring raw power to the mix. Wyverns work just fine while they last. Then when you shift to dragons, they fill the role to deal with the more late game enemies you're running into. The constructs from Dungeon Depths can be decent support for your main armies, as running a hero-less stack with 6 of them lets them benefit from their Legion passive, but they aren't the key focus of this faction, just another of its tools. Overall, it is also a fairly simple and fun faction to play. It took a few iterations to get it just right, but I feel the end result speaks for itself, being a very flavorful and thematic faction that is also quite strong in the battlefield. And that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoy both these builds, and I'll see you in the next one.